something kept coming up. Women were finding the show, writing in, telling me the framework was working, that the loop made sense, that the observer felt real. And in the same breath, something honest. The examples aren't mine. I sat with that, because the loop doesn't change based on who's running it. The trigger fires, the story assembles, the emotion charges, the reaction launches. That sequence is the same for everyone. But where it starts, the situations that light it up, the entry points into the work, those aren't the same. There's a version of the loop nobody talks about. Not the one that explodes, the one that goes quiet, the one that looks like keeping the peace, saying yes when everything in you said no, making yourself smaller so the room could stay comfortable. The one that's been running so long it stopped feeling like a pattern and started feeling like just who you are. That's what HEROS is for. Not to fit you, not to hand you a system and send you on your way, to sit in it with you, the weight of it, the exhaustion of it, the grief of realizing how long you've been gone from yourself, and do the work of finding the way back. You're not broken. You're running a pattern that made complete sense when life built it. This is where we interrupt it.
HEROS.
The loop doesn't stop just because you want it to. The same reaction, the same thought, the same automated response, running over the same neural track. You aren't broken. You're just running old code. Break the pattern. How to interrupt automatic thought and reaction. A practical framework written by Tom Lawhorn Jr. It's not about willpower. It's about awareness. Understanding the behavioral loop before the grip tightens. Available now on Amazon. The manual for your system is finally here. Break the pattern.
What if the woman you miss isn't gone? What if she's still there? Beneath the grief, beneath the anxiety, beneath the version of you that learned to survive. Sometimes healing doesn't begin by becoming someone new. Sometimes it begins by remembering who you were before life got heavy. There's a guide in reflection, designed by Self-OS. It's called Pause Before You React. 6 questions. 1 clear response. A way to meet yourself with awareness before survival takes over. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to HEROS.
There's a moment in every woman's life, and maybe this is yours, where you look at yourself and realize you become someone you never auditioned to be. Not because you chose it, not because you wanted it, but because life kept handing you storms and you kept walking through them. And somewhere along the way, the storms, they became your personality, your posture, and your default setting. You didn't notice it happening. You just adapted, braced, and survived. And then one day, maybe in the mirror, maybe in the quiet, maybe in the middle of a breakdown you didn't schedule, you catch a glimpse of yourself and think, where did she go? The woman I used to be. I know that moment. I lived in it for years. Trauma didn't just break me, it rewired me. Grief didn't just hurt, it rearranged the furniture inside my chest. And life didn't just get heavy, it changed my shape. I became the woman who's always scanning the room, always preparing for impact, always waiting for the next loss, even in the middle of a good moment. People call it anxiety, but to me, it's muscle memory. It's what happens when your nervous system has seen too much. And here's the truth I've never said out loud. I miss her. The version of me before the world got loud, before the losses, before the exhaustion, before survival became my personality. So if you're listening to this, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not dramatic. You're not too much. You're a woman who's lived through things that would have leveled other people, and you're still here. This isn't a self-help show. This isn't a highlight reel. This is a place where we tell the truth, the kind we usually whisper to ourselves in the dark. Because maybe, if we say it out loud together, it won't feel so heavy anymore.
Before we step into the heavier parts of tonight's episode, I want to start with something softer. Something that reminds you that even in the middle of everything you've survived, there's still room for hope. There's still room for light. There's still room for the version of you that you haven't met yet, or the one you're trying to find again. Because yes, tonight we're talking about the weight we've carried, but we're also talking about what we might discover underneath it. The strength we didn't know we had, the softness we thought we lost, the pieces of ourselves that didn't disappear. They just got quiet. Maybe you're here because you want to feel like yourself again. Maybe you're here because you're tired of living in survival mode. Maybe you're here because something inside you whispered, there has to be more than this. And there is. There always is. There's a version of you who still believes in good days. A version who still deserves rest. A version who still laughs, still hopes, still dreams, even if it's faint, even if it's fragile, even if it's buried under years of being strong for everyone else. Tonight is about her. The woman you're becoming. The woman you're remembering. The woman who's been waiting for you to slow down long enough to hear her again. So take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind settle for just a moment. You're here. You made it. And you're allowed to hope for something better. Welcome to HEROS. This is Becoming Her, episode 10B.
There's a point where survival stops feeling temporary and starts becoming your whole personality, where you don't even remember what it felt like to wake up without dread sitting on your chest, where you can't recall the last time you moved through a day without bracing for something to go wrong. And the hardest part is, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not some big moment where the sky cracks open and everything changes. It's slow. It's subtle. And it's the kind of shift you only notice in hindsight. You start canceling plans because you're too tired. You start avoiding conversations because you don't have the energy to pretend you're okay. You start shrinking yourself because you don't want to take up space you're not sure you deserve anymore. And then one day, you look at yourself. Really look. And you realize you've been gone for a long time. For me, it was grief that did it. Grief that stacked itself on top of me until I couldn't tell where it ended and where I began. Losing my son, losing my father, losing homes, losing my stability, and losing pieces of myself I didn't even know were missing until I reached for them and felt nothing but air. And somewhere in all of that, I became someone who lives on high alert, someone who's always scanning for danger, someone who doesn't trust good moments because they've never lasted long enough to feel real. People think that's negativity, but it's not. It's what happens when life teaches you again and again that safety is temporary. But here's the truth I've been carrying, the one that's been sitting in my chest like a stone for years now. I want myself back. The woman I was before the world got heavy. The woman who laughed without thinking about what might go wrong next. The woman who didn't live in a constant state of preparation. The woman who didn't feel like she had to be ready for everything all the time. I'm not trying to reinvent myself. I'm just trying to remember myself. The version of me that existed before survival became my default setting. And maybe you're trying to remember yourself too.
As we come to the end of this episode, I want to take a moment to sit with everything we uncovered tonight. Not the heaviness of it, but the clarity. The way certain truths rise to the surface when we finally give ourselves space to breathe. Tonight wasn't about reliving the past, it was about recognizing the quiet strength it took to survive it. It was about noticing the parts of you that never gave up even when you felt like you had nothing left. And it was about remembering that the woman you were before life got heavy, she's still here. She's been waiting for you to slow down long enough to hear her again. Maybe you felt something shift tonight. Maybe you heard a version of yourself you haven't heard in a long time. Or maybe you just realized you're not as alone in all of this as you thought. Any of those things, that's enough. That's progress. That's a beginning. So as we step out of this space, I want you to hold on to the possibility we found here. The possibility that healing doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's just the simple act of saying, I'm ready to come back to myself. And if you take one thing with you tonight, let it be this.
If you're listening to this, I want you to know that I'm right here beside you. Not above you, looking down with answers I don't have. Not ahead of you, pretending I've already figured out the path. Just here, shoulder to shoulder in the same breath, the same heaviness, the same quiet ache that settles into your bones when life has been too much for too long. Sometimes that ache shows up before you even open your eyes in the morning. Sometimes it waits until the house gets quiet at night. Sometimes it hits you in the middle of the day out of nowhere like a wave you didn't see coming. And you brace yourself because that's what you've learned to do. You brace, you endure, you keep going even when you're running on fumes. I know what it's like to live in that space where everything feels overwhelming, where your mind won't quiet down no matter how tired you are, and where your body carries a kind of exhaustion that sleep can't touch, where your heart feels like it's holding memories it never asked for. Memories that sit heavy, like stones you've been carrying in your pockets for years. And it's not just the big things, it's the little things too. The dishes in the sink, the unanswered messages, the appointments you keep rescheduling because you didn't have the energy to show up as a person that day. It's the way you apologize for being overwhelmed even though you're doing the best you can with what you've lived through. I know what it's like to lie awake at night replaying every moment you wish you could change, to wonder if you'll ever feel like yourself again. Not the version of you that's surviving, but the version that used to laugh without thinking, breathe without effort, and hope without fear. To question whether that woman ever truly existed, or if she was just a softer dream you didn't get to keep. I know the grief that comes with that. The grief of missing someone who's still alive. You. The grief of realizing that you've been in survival mode for so long that you forgot what it feels like to simply be. And I know what it's like to feel alone in it, even when you're surrounded by people who love you, even when you're doing everything right, even when you're trying so hard to hold it together that your hands shake from the effort. There's a loneliness that comes from carrying things you don't have words for, a loneliness that comes from being the strong one for too long, a loneliness that whispers, no one else sees how hard this is, even when they're trying to. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to tell you to stay positive or just breathe, or any of those things that people say when they don't understand the weight of what you're carrying. I'm not here to rush you out of your feelings or convince you that you should be somewhere other than where you are right now. I'm just here to sit with you in the dark long enough for you to know that you're not alone in it. To sit in the quiet with you until your breathing slows. To sit in the heaviness with you until it feels a little less sharp. To sit in the truth with you. The truth that you are doing the best you can, even on the days when it doesn't feel like enough. Because you're not alone. You're not the only one who became someone you never meant to be. You're not the only one who misses the version of themselves they used to know. You're not the only one who's tired of surviving and wants to start living again. And you're not the only one who wonders if healing is possible for someone like you. Someone who's been through more than they ever should talk about. This podcast isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the woman you were before life got heavy. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that trauma tried to steal. The softness, the hope, the spark, the sense of belonging in your own skin. It's about saying the things out loud that we've been carrying in silence because silence felt safer than being misunderstood. It's about coming home to yourself slowly, gently, without pressure of timelines. And it's about letting yourself be human again. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. When your nights get heavy, know that there's a rainbow after every storm. And yours is on its way.
Before we end today, I want to give you something small to try this week. Nothing heavy, nothing emotional on purpose. Just a check-in. At some point in the next few days, find one quiet minute. In your car, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, all the coffee brews. Anywhere you can be alone for 60 seconds. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop a little. Then ask yourself one simple question. What part of me have I been ignoring? Don't dig, don't analyze. Just notice whatever comes up. Maybe it's rest, maybe it's joy, maybe it's the version of you who hasn't had space in a long time. Whatever shows up, just acknowledge it. You don't have to fix anything yet. You don't have to change your life. Just notice yourself again. That's the whole exercise. 1 minute, once a day. A small way of reminding your body and your mind. You're still here, and you matter. This has been HEROS, episode 10B.
What you just heard wasn't a highlight reel. If you want that, you can keep scrolling TikTok. This was someone telling the truth about what it costs to run a pattern for a long time and what it looks like to start interrupting it. That's the work. For her, for you, same loop, same practice, same decision to stop letting the automatic version of yourself be the only version available. What comes next is simple, not easy, simple. You take one thing from this episode, one moment that landed, one place where you recognize yourself in what she said, and you bring the observer to it. Not to fix it tonight, just to see it clearly. That's where it starts. That's always where it starts.
This was a production of Self-OS. Awareness is power.